Cable Bahamas has always been considered the innovator.
People can have confidence in Cable Bahamas as a mobile operator because of our past history. We've proven to the Bahamian community that we are in fact able to manage additional services as a telecommunications company.
Customers expect the best from Cable Bahamas.
The technology that we bring is revolutionary technology because we know that the Bahamian public, they deserve it, and Cable Bahamas is here to bring it to them.
We are ready. Turn us on.
Tensions rise at a Best Commission town hall meeting. The PAC moving ahead with plans to hold a public BAMSI hearing. How the Carnival Commission is responding to disappointing costume sales. Plus, meet Ringo the Flamingo. We've got those stories and a whole lot more tonight. I'm Juanique Tude and NB12 starts now. Tempers flared at a marathon town hall meeting last night after residents were informed they might have been exposed to unacceptable levels of harmful chemicals in their groundwater. Foreign consultants informed the residents that those chemicals in the water table came from a Rubis gas leak in December 2012. But it was the government's response to the leak and failure to inform residents of health risks that sparked outrage. Kyle Joaquin tells us more.
Once reports of this nature is provided to us, we provide the information to the responsible line ministries. We report to our Ministry of Environment. We were charged by the Ministry of Environment to undertake this work. We discharged that responsibility, and we're now in the public advising, allowing you to know what's taking place. A decision to release the report is one that has to be gotten from government.
That's Philip Weech, the director of the Bahamas Environment, Science and Technology Commission, explaining that it was really the call of the government to not release the findings of tests done in the area of that major Rubis fuel spill. It was in late 2012 that the fuel spilled from pump 5 of the then Texaco service station into the ground and eventually into the water table. After 2 years of waiting for a report as to what exactly happened in that gas leak and who was affected, Andy Byers, the director of environmental services for Black and Veatch, broke down the findings for the residents in attendance last night. In his summary, he admitted that the remediation carried out in the months following the spill could have been carried out with more haste.
With regard to what had been done up to this point in time, there had been actions taken on the site which were appropriate. However, we found that the actions taken and the timing to do that to assess the impacts off-site, which means off of the Rubis property, could have been expedited. It took a couple of months between the time the release was discovered until they actually had the sampling process in place off the Rubis site.
But it got worse.
What we did find is that workers in the commercial buildings were exposed to chemicals and vapors above acceptable levels, and that residents were exposed to chemicals in both groundwater and vapors that were above acceptable levels.
A standout chemical in that gas which made its way into the water table, benzene. The World Health Organization has warned of what could happen as a result of exposure to benzene. Topping the list, benzene is a well-established cause of cancer in humans. That information, especially after being withheld for over a year, did not sit too well with residents.
It was inhumane to have someone exposed to that for that period of time. Inhumane. It is unconscionable. So while I'm here listening and hearing all of the protocol, who informs who and what happens next and all of that, really, that is unimportant. What is important is who is empowered to compel somebody to do something and to do it quickly.
And that was just one of several visibly upset residents of the Marathon area who may have been affected by gas making its way into the water table. As a result of that fuel leak, Cable Bahamas was forced to relocate to the Marathon Mall. During the town hall meeting, both Environment Minister Ken Dorset and Education Minister Jerome Fitzgerald, who was also the MP for the Marathon constituency, sat silently near the back of the room. Noticeably absent from that meeting last night were representatives from Rubis. The residents that may have been affected expressed their disappointment in the company, saying that someone should have at least came in and given some sort of explanation or even an apology. The service station, which was closed after the leak, was reopened last year. At one point during the meeting, it was asked by attorney Romel Ferreira if the station reopened at the consent of the Department of Environmental Health. But it was the response from the assistant director of DEHS that also shocked residents.
Mr. Curtis, so it did not receive an official certificate of approval. Is that no? It did not receive an official certificate of approval. We were satisfied that the remediation plan was consistent with other remediation plans of similar nature. So Section 8 of the Environmental Health Services Act specifies that Rubis remediation plan should receive a certificate of approval, and your department is responsible for enforcing that particular act. So how can you stand here tonight? I mean, it's totally disingenuous, and tell us you're satisfied, and then turn around and say you didn't issue a certificate of approval. This is why I was bouncing all over the place. I was trying to figure out what in the world I was hearing. How is that possible? How is what possible? Okay, let's try it again. You said that they received, the Rubis remediation plan received no certificate of approval. Then you turned around and said you were satisfied with the Rubis remediation plan. Yeah. How is that possible? We were satisfied with it, but we just didn't issue but Section 8C of the Environmental Health Services Act requires you to issue a certificate of approval. So are you admitting now that you're in dereliction of your duty? If that's the way you want to put it, Mr. Ferreira.
Our news team reached out to Rubis' managing director, Gordon Craig. However, we were informed that he is out of office until next week and is the only person who can give a statement on the ordeal. Reporting for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
1 month after the Public Accounts Committee requested public hearings on the execution and construction of the BAMSI project, PAC Chairman Hubert Chipman says the committee will forge ahead with its investigation. Jasmine Brown explains.
Chipman says given the immense amount of public interest and the fact that there are so many unanswered questions, the PAC is pushing to have that public hearing on BAMSI broadcasted nationwide.
We want a public hearing, and we want all the seats where it's televised so the Family Island people can see what's going on. I think everybody is concerned what happened at BAMSI.
On February 25th, Davis told Parliament his advice was that contractor Audley Hanna had everything that was required to do work with his ministry, including contractors' all-risk insurance, but that the insurance coverage had lapsed due to project delays. However, in March, Davis said files revealed the building was never insured. Davis also tabled documents including the letter of intent, contract, and insurance certificates on file at the Ministry of Works with Paradigm Construction. Shipman has continued to insist Davis should have laid it all on the table that day.
And this only came about on, January 15 as a result of the fire. There's been a lot of talk within the public domain, and we just need to get to the bottom of it, and we will do it publicly.
Chipman says they have already informed House Speaker Dr. Kendall Major of their intent to make the hearing public.
I have written to the Speaker, who has now since written to the Prime Minister.
But he says there is an issue.
What is troubling about this is the Speaker does not have within his budget the money to accommodate a public hearing. So he has to get permission from the Prime Minister in order to finance a public hearing.
Chipman says given how expensive the matter is, he does not believe the answers to their questions will be immediate, as they plan to make their investigations thorough. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Government intends to dispassionately examine the Auditor General's report into the urban renewal program and address those weaknesses identified in the program, according to Minister of State for Finance Michael Halkitis, who said officials plan to take the advice and put in place the corrective measures. The Auditor General found that there was a lack of accountability, transparency, and due diligence in the management of the small home repairs program and quality of work. It also revealed that contractors were not required to have proof of all-risk insurance and that 11 contractors were paid $171,000 for work that was either incomplete or not done at all. Halkitis said he does not want to suggest that it's nothing out of the ordinary, but said it is very concerning whenever public funds are being spent. He said their aim is to ensure government gets value for money. As the country's murder count continues to climb, some have pointed to bail as a possible contributing factor, noting those released on bail are sometimes killed. Bishop Simeon Hall recently called bail a death sentence. However, Attorney General Allison Maynard Gibson says it is wrong to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Dana Smith reports.
I definitely do not think that granting bail is a death sentence. Having said that, I do note that though there are persons who have been let out on bail who have committed further offenses or have been killed. There's been a homicide in relation to them. I want to say that we must not, in our country, throw out the baby with the bathwater. We must continue to recognize that it is the courts that make decisions about these matters, and it is also the responsibility of parties appearing before the courts to assure that all information that is important for the court's consideration is in fact before the courts.
Last week, Bishop Simeon Hall called on lawmakers to revisit the issue of bail. He said bail has become a death sentence in our country because of the vigilantism that is growing. He said people are taking the law into their own hands. It seems that we might have to keep these people out on bail in prison for their own sake. Controversial, Tall Pines MP Leslie Miller also spoke on the issue in Parliament this week, while Assistant Commissioner Police Stephen Dean called the killing of people on bail a disturbing trend that police are trying to curb. Well, Maynard Gibson noted it's ultimately up to the courts to decide whether a person should be granted bail, and bail is a constitutional right. The Attorney General also noted bail may not be as frequently granted as some might think.
I do want to draw the public's attention again that in January, the applications for murder and murder-related matters, persons applying for bail, nobody was granted bail. In February, in applications for murder and murder-related matters, there were 2, I believe, bails granted. And in those matters, they were granted because persons had been in prison for longer than 3 years. I've not yet gotten the final statistics for March.
Last year, according to Maynard Gibson, there were 425 bail applications for murder, and of that number, only 33 were granted.
The Attorney General also addressed the effect witness intimidation has on trials. She said the intimidation or murder of a witness or a person on bail is not something the law takes lightly.
It is very important for all of our citizens to take seriously the issue of witness intimidation. And I think the assassination or the murder of a witness, a person out on bail who may be a witness or in a matter, is extremely serious. And we as citizens, if we would like to see our system work, have to take seriously this matter and ought to be reporting any knowledge that any of us has about this offense. The system cannot work where witnesses are interfered with or intimidated, and the law is very firm about this matter.
Maynard Gibson said anyone who interferes with the course of justice, be it intimidating a witness or killing the accused, will be dealt with. Reporting for NB12, I'm Dana Smith.
From the crime beat, police are investigating the death of a woman whose body was found in an apartment complex on Taylor Street, Nassau Village, around 7 this morning. An autopsy will be performed to determine the exact cause of death. Meantime, police shot one of 2 suspects who led them on a high-speed chase in the Carmichael Road area. It all started around 11 a.m. Thursday when officers attempted to stop a 1998 Mitsubishi Lancer being recklessly driven near Faith Avenue. A chase ensued, ending on Golden Isles Road when the vehicle slowed down and the car's passenger allegedly pointed a handgun at officers. Police then opened fire on the 2 suspects, ages 26 and 21, who then sped off again before stopping in the Excellence Estates area. Police arrested the driver while the passenger ran into nearby bushes. He was shot in the thigh and is now in hospital in stable condition under heavy police guard.